Battlefield 6 is getting serious about fixing some of its issues. In yet another statement released in just the last couple of hours, developers have outlined a series of upcoming changes to the game that are aimed at solving a series of problems the game has had since it launched last week, with some highlights including details around the weapon bloom or spread issue, proposed changes to the challenges and assignments aimed at making them more straightforward to complete and easier to understand, and a series of statements about the upcoming Battle Royale mode that is rumored to be dropping alongside Season 1. And I say rumored because they've put Battle Royale patch notes in an update for a Battle Royale mode they haven't officially confirmed yet. It's a bit weird. But I've got all of this info right here in this video. So go ahead, drop a like on it to support it, and if you haven't already, go and hit the subscribe button and join in the action here on the channel. We're trying to push towards 1 million subscribers. We got about 48,000 to go, so if you haven't clicked that button yet, click it now. Season 1 is just around the corner, and it sounds like the Battle Royale is launching very, very soon, so I'll have video and stream coverage of that right here on the channel. Let's get into it. Okay, we're going to start with stuff that directly affects Battlefield 6 as it currently stands, so for the multiplayer side of things, and then we'll break off into the Battle Royale conversation at the end of the video. First up, let's talk about player movement. This is something the devs at Battlefield Studios have been working to clean up since launch, and I've got to say, I've seen a lot of takes from both sides of the debate here. Some players want more movement in Battlefield 6 so they can outplay their opponents in a different way, and others want movement more in line with previous titles where gunfights were won and lost based on positioning more frequently. So here's how the devs are approaching movement with this upcoming change. The movement and pacing that is currently seen in Battlefield 6 as it has launched is largely going to remain as it is, and work is being done to refine player movements to keep them more consistent with their overall goal for the game. The idea is to have a movement system that reflects the pace of the gameplay, which is a little bit faster than in previous titles, it has to be said. One area of more acute focus for the developers is the stability of weapon sights. An update coming in the near future is going to address this by minimizing the reticle movement during specific animations. Ones where currently the reticle can kind of go walkabouts and make you feel like you're aiming at something when in fact you aren't. The devs want this change to tie into other fixes going live very soon, specifically the ones surrounding gunplay. There's a focus to provide a smoother and more precise aiming experience across the game, but at the same time, the atmosphere and the immersive elements of Battlefield 6 need to be kept in the mix as well. So it's a fine balance. The devs are suggesting there's some work to do to keep things more stable. Next, the developers are going to be further addressing the progression in Battlefield 6. You might remember last week, the team set live a series of tweaks to the weapon leveling and mastery that aim to significantly increase the speed of unlocks through the first 20 or so weapon levels, with difficulty and XP requirement then steadily climbing upwards to level 50 and achieving that mastery camo. Well, the team is now happier with the overall leveling changes, and I do have to say it is now significantly easier to rank weapons up for the first 10 or 15 levels. You do start to notice it at the end of that, and going into the 20s, it does start to become a little bit more of a grind. You are now able, though, to unlock some decent attachments that much quicker for your weapons earlier on in your grind. But in this next update, the devs are looking to make some serious changes to the challenges and the assignments that have been, well, a little bit more than a hot topic of conversation since launch. Let's say they've just become a bit of a meme at this point. The devs are fully aware of just how ridiculous some of the challenges were, and how some of them took you so far out of the core gameplay loop that it completely detracted from Battlefield's main message, which is to play the objective and help your team. So, to that end, these assignment and challenge changes are going to be overhauled, likely across 2 different updates in the future, and they're set to be made more straightforward to understand and faster to complete. Now, I think the reason they want people completing them faster is because a lot of these challenges include core gadgets and weapons for different classes in the game, including a few different training paths for different classes as well. And that's something I've seen people barely talk about since launch. The developers want people to unlock this stuff pretty quickly now. So here's some of the examples they're offering when it comes to these assignment changes. Class assignment assault number 1, currently, you need to get 30 kills whilst using the adrenaline injector. The change that's being considered is a 90% reduction down to just 3 kills in total. Now that sounds a bit extreme. Maybe taking it down to like 10 injection kills would be a bit more appropriate, but consider this. We're already 2 weeks post-launch now, and a lot of players, including myself, haven't completed this starter Assault 1 challenge. That's 2 weeks of time lost, and the devs clearly didn't intend for players to take so long to unlock these items, so I can see why such a drastic reduction is being considered. Then we've got Class Assignment Engineer Expert 3. Currently, you need to achieve 6,000 repair score in a match to unlock this. That's just an absolutely insane amount. The devs are considering a reduction to 1,000 score being needed. That's far more reasonable. I think a dedicated engineer would most likely to be able to achieve this if they just spent most of their round supporting a tank in their movements across the map. And then the final example is Weapon Assignment Deadeye 2. Now, this is getting headshot kills over 200 meters with sniper rifles 150 times. This was the ultimate troll from the devs, this one. Not only was the amount needed, 150 headshots, absolutely insane, but anyone but the best sniper out there was going to be able to achieve that. But then setting the distance needed to 200, there are barely any maps in the game that allowed you to sit that far back from enemies to be able to get those headshots. Firestorm and Mirak Valley are probably the only two that you can do it on. So to fix this assignment, the devs are proposing a reduction in the amount of headshots needed from 150 to 5, and then in a future update, reducing the distance from 200 meters down to something more manageable. This one just makes me feel so bad for people who actually completed the 150 headshot kills at over 200 meters distance, because once this is fully adjusted, it's going to be nowhere near as difficult to complete. I know I'm sort of laughing at these changes, but genuinely, reducing these all the way down to super achievable levels now, as I mentioned, is the right thing to do, because the devs have, inadvertently or otherwise, stopped players from achieving these assignments and unlocking core equipment by 2 weeks. They've slowed everybody down, which is quite frustrating. And with Season 1 just around the corner, which is going to bring a battle pass, free and paid tiers, with all the free weapons, all the free attachments, the free vehicles, and everything else, all of that being added in, the devs need to make sure that players can get their hands on these other core items as quickly as they can. Then we're getting an update on player visibility based on a lot of feedback from the community. It definitely won't have escaped your notice that currently there are some moments in Battlefield 6 where things are just insanely bright, and then at other moments things are insanely dark, and this can lead to moments where you're not able to see your enemies properly. It's a cool artistic choice for the game, that's for sure, but it's not conducive to solid, consistent gameplay. So the devs are going to try and fix it. They're specifically targeting the moments when you're looking from outside to in, or inside to out of buildings, and the lack of visibility around different weapon optics when zooming in, essentially cleaning up the ADS view across the board. These changes are going to be part of a wider visibility pass right across the game, and they're expected to land during Season 1. The changes are taking a little bit more time to assess and test to make sure they're actually working in the right way. And as you can see from the current lighting in the game, there clearly are some big issues that need to be worked out properly. Then we've got extensive details on the weapon bloom, spread, and overall gunplay experience, and how the devs are looking to fix and refine it moving forwards. Again, this has been a very heavy talking point in the community right away since launch, so it's nice to hear the developers have been keeping it high in their list of priorities to fix. So here's what they're currently working to achieve. As part of the Season 1 update on October 28th, there will be several adjustments to how weapon dispersion, or bloom, behaves in-game. These are being made to make sure that weapon accuracy better reflects the intended performance over range. So you'll likely see some weapons brought back into line that are currently outperforming others, like the MP5, for example. It's better than some assault rifles at range. Also, a bug identified within the movement system was negatively impacting the weapon bloom mechanic, causing it to not decrease as expected when transitioning from sprinting to the prone position. Weapons fired immediately after sprinting whilst zoomed into ADS could retain a higher than intended bloom value, causing reduced accuracy with the weapon. That's being fixed as well. And bloom was also increasing faster than it should have been when players began moving. So even small adjustments would impact the precision of a weapon in a way that wasn't intended. Now, according to the patch notes, this is something that impacted controller players more than mouse and keyboard, but both inputs will receive the appropriate fix. The upcoming tuning pass is aiming to reduce the impact of bloom across multiple weapon types whilst keeping the original intent of the mechanic intact. So that's dev speak for we're turning down weapon bloom so it won't be as prevalent, but it still will be in the game. This probably means that burst fire is still going to be the way to go, but in these scenarios where bugs were present, the impact of bloom will be reduced and it will be fixed to perform as intended. Now that is brilliant news. I was talking to a couple of creators about these weapon issues a couple of weeks ago when the game first came out, and I suggested that it was something to do with the transitions between different movements and different states, and lo and behold, that's exactly what the issue has turned out to be, or at least in part anyway. I feel like we actually had some similar problems with this during Battlefield 1's life cycle, and perhaps that's why it felt like a similar scenario overall, but whatever, it doesn't really matter anymore. The devs are fixing weapon bloom and reducing its overall presence in gunplay. Fantastic. Right, that's all the upcoming changes to Battlefield 6's multiplayer. Now let's talk about the Battle Royale. I didn't expect to be talking about this today, but here we are. This is something I've only really mentioned in passing since it was first rumored for Battlefield 6, and I've done my very best not to look at any of the leaks coming out of the lab's playtest for this, because I want to be surprised by it. I want to try it fresh at launch. But now we've got some official words from the developers. They're aimed at setting expectations for the mode based on what people have already played in labs versus what is likely to appear when the Battle Royale drops, which is rumored to be with the launch of Season 1. So firstly, the devs are adjusting the close range time to kill in the Battle Royale for all weapon types to reward clean positioning and tracking whilst giving players more time to react to counterattacks. Essentially, this translates to we're lengthening the time to kill at close range. That's a good thing. There are some armor changes happening within the Battle Royale. Everyone will have the capacity for 2 armor plates to start the game. All players will now start with 1 plate in their 2-plate vest. There will no longer be a 1-plate vest and a 2-plate vest. There will only be a 2-plate vest, and then you will just have to go and loot for the armor plates to put into your vest. This is a massive, massive change from everything that I have heard so far from the labs testing, and I think, again, this is in aid of lengthening the time to kill and smoothing it out across all engagements in the Battle Royale. I think this is a really solid move from the developers. There have been lots of different versions of the Battle Royale map in labs in various states of being finished, and there will be further improvements to it when it launches. Focus has been on making visibility as clear as possible right across the map, and there have been final pushes to make the performance of the map and the entire mode as smooth as possible for launch. A range of issues were identified and fixed recently, and the devs are saying that couldn't have happened without everyone playing via labs with all their different specifications of PCs and whatnot. So GG's to the community out there for playing labs early and playing the VR. And finally, major adjustments have been made to the vehicle balance in the Battle Royale, focused around the choppers and the combat vehicles to keep them powerful and show off Battlefield's core DNA, but also putting them in a position so that they don't become essential to surviving the endgame. So I think they're trying to mitigate the chance of seeing a tank in the smallest circle possible. These all sound like absolutely stellar changes to the VR, and now I literally can't wait for it to launch. Just give it to me right now. That's it for today. Don't forget, drop a like on the video if you can, and subscribe to the channel for Season 1 and Battle Royale coverage coming very soon. I'll catch you in the next one.